Okay, if we could have your attention, please. We are now joined by our second place finisher, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., driver of the number 17 Fastenal Ford for Roush Fenway Racing. Tonight's race, he tied a career best finish set at Bristol in March 2014, and this is the highest finish for Roush Fenway Racing this season. So, Ricky, congratulations on a great race. Just talk about it out there.
Yeah, it was tough. We didn't have the car exactly where we needed to be to start the race. Went 2 laps down. Wasn't real sure we were going to be able to get back on the lead lap. We had some really good timely cautions. Nick made a lot of great changes to get our car better, and that was the thing that turned us around was the good adjustments on pit road, and we made a lot of them. So really good team effort. I really wanted to park it in victory lane for Brian and his family, but we just came up one spot short. I thought we were matching the 4-car lap for lap there at the end. I just starting 6th. He kind of stretched it out on me, and I wasn't able to really make a run at it. So really happy with how we ended the day. It was a tough weekend.
Okay, we'll open up for questions for Ricky. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll start with Matt and then come up to Tucker.
Matt Weaver, Racer.com, Auto Week magazine. How involved has Chris and Bob been as far as team meetings and things of that nature, and how welcoming have the primary guys at Roush Fenway Racing been to y'all's collaboration?
Oh, they're in every single meeting. We share a lot of information. It's awesome to start seeing it paying off. I know they were struggling at the beginning of the year. Chris is a great race car driver. He showed that in the Xfinity Series. And, I think the time in the car every week, and getting better with working with Bob, his first year working with him as a crew chief. And, they're very, very integrated into our processes. And, it starts at the top. Everybody at Roush Fenway has been working hard to improve what we're coming to the track with. And that goes down to the 34 team as well.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Tucker and then over to Bob.
Tucker White, SpeedwayMedia.com. Now, Ricky, granted your runner-up finish did have a lot of help from a good chunk of attrition, but what does a runner-up finish like this say about the continuing efforts to bring Roush Fenway Racing back to the top of the series?
Yeah, I mean, it's I know, for me, that we didn't pass all the cars out there. We didn't we didn't pass the best of the best cars out there, but we passed some cars that were running and leading laps throughout the whole race. The 19 led a lot of laps, or led some laps, ran up front. The fastest car here in qualifying there. So we passed some good cars. I mean, we got to look at it as what we were able to accomplish coming from 2 laps down and making our car better. I do think that some of those cars in the wreck we could have got by after making our car better. But we know we still got a lot of work to do. But this is just builds confidence that we were able to get our car better throughout the race.
Okay, next question from Bob, and then Kenny, and then we'll go over to Pete and Rick.
Bob Hucker, ESPN. If there was a late caution, would you have had something for Harvick, or did he have the best car at the end?
I don't really know. I mean, he had a lead big enough that he may not have been pressing the issue as much. I thought we were lapping him at lap time, lap for lap. So, I'd definitely give it all I got if we had had a restart there. Like I said last time in here, a restart. On the front row here at Bristol, if you don't give it all you got and move them out of the way, or whatever you need to do, you don't really want it bad enough. So, we would have given it all we got, and I thought we had a car that was capable of doing that. The run before we put tires on, when him and the 22 were battling, I thought we were faster than they were, lap for lap. So, I definitely think we would have had a shot at it.
Okay, next question from Kenny.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Ricky, Bristol's typically been a pretty good track for you. Given your season this year, did you feel like you had a shot at a top 10, top 5 finish here this weekend? And also, did the way the changes to the track, did that impact the way you raced here at all?
You know, I always feel confident coming to Bristol for sure. You know, at the start of the weekend, definitely wouldn't have thought we'd have had a top 10 car. You know, qualifying wasn't real good for us. But we didn't really get to practice on the top because of what they did to the racetrack on the bottom. Everybody kind of ran down there, and, you know, we ran some laps up top in practice, but, you know, it was not rubbered up and ran in enough to really say, hey, this is going to work up here. We thought it was going to work, and, you know, Larson and I talked about it a lot over the weekend, and we thought we could get it rolling and it be the best, and he showed in the Xfinity race that it was going to be good. So, you know, I wish, you know, going back to practice, we probably needed to run up there a little bit more to start closer in the race. We weren't very good to start the race. So, that being said, I thought we practiced a little different than normal with what they did to the racetrack. But, you know, for me, I was glad that the race wasn't won on the bottom. I think this race is way better won on the top. You know, I thought what they did to the racetrack definitely opened up the bottom for options. I passed quite a few cars down there. I thought the 11, the 19, some of those really fast cars that got their car working could pass some good cars down there. So I thought it made it a two-groove racetrack for sure, and definitely more interesting. So, you know, I don't think it was a bad option.
Okay, we'll go next to Pete and then Rick.
Pete Iacobelli, Associated Press. Ricky, how difficult is it, because of the weather, to keep your poise and your patience, not really knowing what was going to happen? That must be a frustrating thing at times.
Well, yeah, we've unfortunately, you know, become accustomed to it lately. Last couple of years, it seems like. You know, what I was really bummed about is I thought we had a really good crowd last night. You know, it seemed like a lot of fans were here and excited for the race, and you know, I was bummed that we just didn't get it in. You know, it was nice to see the fans that were able to stay, but you know, I think a lot of fans that didn't get to see a great race, whether they were driving home and had to listen to it. Good job, too. You know, so you know, going in and out of getting ready, not getting ready, and you know, we were getting close to 1 o'clock or 12:30 there, and I was still in some workout clothes, laying around in the bus, thinking it was going to rain, and it did. So you know, I got to wait around a little longer, but you know, you definitely get cooped up in the bus and want to get going.
Hey, Ricky, Rick Bonnell, the Charlotte Observer, and it's interesting that Chris is sitting next to you, because the other day a couple of us were asking Joey about Chris winning the other weekend, and Joey said, I don't think average fans really appreciate how hard it is, no matter how you do it, to win one of these races. He said the level of competition at the very top is just so profound. I'm just curious, you know, where you got today, where you put yourself into a position to get a second place win. Can you talk a little about the nuances you're picking up and how that might change the decision making you make over the course of a race? And, you know, in other words, if you get into that spot, how do you feel you'd be ready to handle it when that time comes?
Yeah, I mean, you know, what Chris and Bob was able to do as a team is, you know, that's what this sport's about. It's all about making the right decisions and the right calls, and you know, and they nailed it at Pocono. You know, there's a lot of people that you know, get wins on you know, fuel mileage or you know, rain shortened races, and you know, that I would take a win that way. You know, but I think we as a team, you know, got to run a little bit better before we you know, make decisions like that to really pull off a win. You know, I think Chris will tell you they had some, you know, really fortunate circumstances that gave them the opportunity to make that decision and stay out. You know, it's just the way these races work out. But even if you have the fastest car, you're not always going to win. You got to make sure that you do everything that you can do. Make the right pit calls, don't speed, you know, make good moves on the racetrack and not tear up your car. So, man, it's just so hard to win these races. And, you know, if we keep putting ourselves, you know, in the top 5 and in the top 10, you can make different calls as, you know, my crew chief taking 2 tires or, you know, things like that to leapfrog some people and get that track position, you know, maybe start in the lead, and then maybe I could have held the 4 off. So it's just a product of learning.
So it's as much about avoiding losing as it is daring to win?
I don't know. We as drivers, we put it all out there and run every lap like we're qualifying to be the best in this series. You can't take a lap off. Here at Bristol, you got to put it up next to the wall and you got to gas it up. And my right arm was almost going numb. I was so tensed up, making sure I hit my marks every single lap there at the end. So we run as hard as we can to win. And I'm just saying that if you're running better, then you have more options as a team to make better calls and make, I guess, more daring calls, and win some races.
Okay, we'll finish up questions for Ricky with Mike and then Dustin.
Mike Embry, USA Today. The service for Brian Wednesday, are you going to play a role in that? Do you know yet?
It's been so all over the place with getting everything organized, but I'm sure I will. We're going to get there. I think it's going to be cool. Starting around 1 o'clock, just going to have friends and family tell stories and good stories that we had with Brian throughout the years, and that'll start at 1 o'clock, and then they're actually going to have a race at Kokomo. So hot laps will start at 6:30, and then a friend of ours that was going to play Brian and Lauren's wedding is actually going to play after the race for all the fans and friends that are going to be out there. So Kokomo was Brian's favorite place to race every Sunday night, so it'll be special.
Okay, Dustin?
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. You've gone through so much the last week and a half, couple weeks, and on the track, off the track. What's the roller coaster been like, and even have a day like today where you come close to getting your first win with everything that you had planned and having Brian's name? How have you gotten through this period? And I'm guessing you're just emotionally exhausted at this point.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the Saturday night watching the race from Belleville, as soon as it happened, I texted our agent and told him that he needed to figure some things out before anything was announced. I watched it. The ambulances hadn't even got there, and I went ahead and told him that he needed to figure out a way to get to Kansas, because I just had a feeling that that it wasn't good. So it started Saturday night and went through, obviously, a roller coaster that whole night. I was getting updated throughout the night. I was up till about 2 o'clock, 2:30 that morning, talking to him and trying to figure out what was going on. So it's definitely been tough, but I think going to Knoxville and being with his family, being with his fiance, and being with friends that we all had a great time together, talking about it, talking through things and talking about all the good things that Brian did, and his organ donation really helped a lot of us really feel comforted with what he was still doing after the fact. And the service Thursday this past week was one of the toughest days that I think I had. But again, just being there and telling stories really I think helped us all get through it. His fiancée Lauren has been a rock, getting everybody. She's supporting everybody, even though you think it would be the other way around. She's really helped a lot of people. So we're really looking forward to getting there Wednesday, and again, just being with all the racing family that we were able to always be around. And I know Brian was watching and wanting us to win tonight, and we gave it all we had. He was trying to run 200 races. Somebody asked me, how do you feel coming to here and racing? And talking with Tim, Brian's dad, he was like, man, I feel like Brian's probably mad at me right now because I'm not at home working on a midget to get it ready to go racing, because Brian, all he wanted to do was race, and that's what he was doing, and leading one of the biggest races of the year. And it was, if he had to choose a way to go out, I feel like that was the way he wanted. Lauren and her mom and dad were here. Tim did not come, and Brian's family, but They came and just hung out all day on Saturday, throughout the day around the motorhome. And, I was like, well, rain delays are good for some things. We all got to hang out together and spend some more time together. And that definitely has been helping us a lot the last couple weeks.
Ricky, congratulations again. Thank you for your time tonight. Okay, we're also joined by our 5th place finisher, Chris Buescher, driver of the number 34 Loves Travel Stops Ford for Front Row Motorsports. This is Chris's second top 5 finish of the season, and he is now 13 points ahead of 30th now in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. So, Chris, congratulations on a great run. Just talk about your race tonight.
Yeah, it's glad we finally got it in. It's a pretty awesome weekend for our Loves Fusion. We started off the weekend on the right foot. We've had speed off the truck. We've been hanging in there. Our mock runs in late practice were not fun. I felt like I was all over the place, and we got to qualifying, and we had really good speed. So our best qualifying effort of the year. We started the race last night. Got shuffled back a little bit on the start. Had some ideas that we were going to change when we got to the competition caution, and we got, I guess, fortunately, a lot of time to sit down in the trailer and talk with Bob and the whole team just about what we were going to do when that competition caution came out, whatever lap it ended up being today. But once we started adjusting on it, we definitely started heading in the right direction. Our Ford was awesome on long runs. It'd fire off about 2 or 3 laps it would take to get rolling, and it was tough for those couple, and then we were able to move around. We were still able to go to the bottom and pass there later in runs, which I thought was really good. I felt good about our car. We came really similar to where we left off the spring race at Bristol. We had a really good speed there that time, and it carried over pretty well, even with the changes on the track and the VHT and rosin sprayed down. So I was really happy with it. I think the track changes made for some great racing. I don't think it's a dominant bottom groove, but it gave us options and gave us somewhere to go to pass lap cars. It gave us a line to run for restarts. No longer were you doomed to be on the bottom like we were last time here. Top still rolled pretty good on that initial jam up, but a different way of restarts playing out for sure than the last time here. So that was fun. I told the guys that's the most fun I've had since Kentucky earlier this year. So I'm proud of the effort they put in. I know it's tough to sit around here all day. Pretty awesome for the tons of fans that did stick around and hung out with us. I know that was pretty miserable just watching them sit up there in the rain last night. So happy a lot of them stuck out and stuck around to watch us put on a show. It was a blast. So glad we pulled it off. Now we're looking at the next couple to go do more of the same thing.
Okay, we'll start with Kenny and then go to Tucker and then over to Mike.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Chris, I think like 5 laps to go maybe, you're battling right on Austin's bumper, and they're telling you, hey, you're clear, go get him if you can. If you want to try something, try it, basically. At that point, knowing how important every point is, do you kind of think, okay, if I do and I screw up, we could throw all of this away? Or do you think it's as important as it is, if I can get to him, I need to try to get by him?
Wasn't planning on messing up if I got next to him. So, it was one of those things where we could catch him and then mess up a corner and get a little bit of gap. And then we got back to him there. I think the 19 and someone else was behind us, and they were within a couple car lengths. So I didn't want to go to the bottom and give those 2 cars a chance to pass us and lose 2 points that easily. So I wanted to make sure that we had more time. So I was pretty focused ahead. I never looked in the mirror the last run, and just pretty much waiting on DK to tell me that we had a little bit of wiggle room, that we could go out there and try something. And it didn't come until about 5 to go, like you said. And we got to his bumper, and we could roll up to him in the center, and we got off a little better. But at that point in the run, we were just a little bit too far on tires to be able to make the pass work on the bottom. I meant to go 1 lap earlier, and they said white flag it, and that happened to be the lap that I was planning on going to the bottom. So I missed it a little bit. My timing was a little off. If the start-finish line would have been on the backstretch, we'd have been in good shape, but not the case. So it was fun, though. It was a good race. I've raced with Austin a lot, all the way back to Legends Car days, and some ARCA stuff, and plenty of Xfinity. So we've always been able to race each other clean. We never touched for those last 20, 30 laps, however many it was, and it was fun to be right there with them, trying to get that one extra point.
Go ahead, Tucker.
TuckerWhiteSpeedwayMedia.com. Chris, a few weeks ago you accomplished the hardest part of getting into the chase with the win at Pocono, and with this 5th place finish.
You got it.
Well, this win with your finish here at Bristol, you now sit 13 points ahead of David Reagan and 30th in points. Now, I know Bristol is pretty much its own unique animal and not really similar to any other track other than Dover, but what does a finish like this say about maybe your chances of possibly doing more than just making the chase and possibly going beyond the first round?
It was a pretty big day for us. We've had really strong days at the track, and we've had a lot of bad luck. Obviously, at Pocono, we had some really good luck. It's been a roller coaster ride of a season, and because of that, we're having to talk about racing for that top 30 place in points. And I know everybody can say the same thing. Everybody can pick out a handful of races and say if it weren't for those, they'd be in a lot different situation. And I guess I'm focused on what ours were. But nonetheless, where we're at right now, our last several months, we've been showing up with a lot of speed. We've had some races this year that we've been really good, and are some of the racetracks that we're going to go to in the chase. Some of the mile-and-a-half stuff has been really good for us. The worn-out racetrack, the older asphalt, Atlanta, Fontana. Darlington's my favorite track. It's not in the chase, so we'll see what plays out there. But I think it'll be good to help get us in the chase a little bit more comfortably. From my standpoint, and Front Row Motorsports has been working extremely hard, and we've been sharing all we can to try and find speed each and every weekend. And Bristol was good for us in the spring. We had really good speed here, and I was happy with that. And they one up themselves. They came here with even better piece, and we stayed out of the accidents. We played it smart today. Ran against the fence, but with a buffer to make sure we didn't get up in the marbles, didn't cut a tire down, didn't push sheet metal in on a tire. I mean, anything that could go wrong, we avoided, other than me sliding a little bit close to the inside wall on a pit stop. So for the most part, a mistake-free day that led to a really good run. But we had the speed to be able to pull it off with it. I mean, we were able to move forward every restart, and that was a lot of fun.
Okay, next question from Mike, and then to Bob.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. You've often expressed your dislike for points racing. These next few races, you need good finishes, but I guess what you need most of all is not to have bad finishes. Can you work that balance of not being too aggressive and wrecking early and still trying to get the points finish you need to keep your spot?
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, we're always coming to the racetrack to try and win and not make mistakes and get the best finish possible. So you can still be aggressive, try and get all you can. If you mess up a little bit and you lose a couple spots, so be it. If you wreck a race car, it ruins your day, and ultimately it'll ruin your point situation. So, just because of points being where they're at doesn't mean we have to go and just focus on that aspect. We came to Bristol knowing that we had speed, that we loved this racetrack, and it was a good chance for us to go out and have an awesome run, and that's exactly what we were able to do. Points will fall however they will. You can't focus on them too much because you lose sight of what the main goal is, and that's to go out and win races. And trying to get to that point, and we were competitive here at Bristol. We weren't quite a winning car, but we were every bit of a top 5 car, and it should have been a little bit better there at the end. Could have been a little bit better there at the end. We got to be aware of it, but we're still going to be aggressive with our racing style. We're not here just to lay over and be conservative. We're going out for good finishes to stretch that points to be comfortable at Richmond.
Go ahead, Bob.
Bob Parker, ESPN. Kind of along those lines, you guys should have more horsepower than the BK Racing cars, and that would come into play most at Michigan and Darlington. So how nice is it to have a little bit of a buffer and to kind of maybe gain points on a day where, you've seen the BK racing cars have some good days?
We look at the next couple racetracks, and obviously Roush Yates' horsepower is always awesome. They're always extremely reliable, and we're able to get to the finish every time. So, where we look at looking ahead, horsepower is always going to be a big part of it. But we've won a lot of races going to the track intentionally 40 horsepower down to be able to hook up for forward bite. So, at the same time, we like you said, Michigan's a big one, extremely large aero track as well, and that's really important. So we had good speed there earlier this year. I'm excited to get back there, considered a home track for Ford. So always a little bit added pressure there just from that side of things, but we're also going there to stretch the points lead. That's a place where we can definitely gain a little bit and at least keep even. So I'm excited for that one. Darlington is my favorite track that we go to. I absolutely love that place. So Bristol is in my top 3. So hopefully it all works out and that translates to another good run there.
Any final questions for Chris? Okay, we'll go to Stan.
Chris, Stan Creekmore. How much has Ford Performance picked up its involvement with your team over the past month to 2 months to help you get to where you are now?
The great thing is Ford Performance has been committed from the start. They've gone through a lot of changes in the last little bit, and they've been all in. They made it very clear at the beginning of the season, talking with everybody over there, that we're out here to win a championship and to get wins and run up front, and that's the goal for every Ford out there on the racetrack. So we come to these next handful of races, and obviously we have a really good shot at making the chase now. So we're working hard to utilize every resource available now and make sure that we take advantage of it to make sure that we make the chase, because that's ultimately that's a step in the direction of a championship. We're, like Ricky was saying, from Ford camp side, we know we got a little bit of work to do yet, and we all know who's been dominant at a lot of these tracks this year, and we're working to get ahead of that group. So as we look at these the rest of the year, it's not just to the chase. We got to work all the way through Homestead to keep improving, to make sure that we're in a good spot to try and win championships, win more races, and definitely be ready for next year to give it everything we got to be more competitive from the very start of the season.
Okay, we'll take our final question from Deb.
Deb Williams, RacingToday.com. Chris, you've talked about Darlington, Michigan, your feelings about Bristol. But what about Richmond, because that's the final race before the chase starts?
I left that one out on purpose.
That.
I guess Richmond's got to grow on me a little bit still. For whatever reason, that one's been tough on me. Always. It's just always been a tough racetrack. I'm excited that we have figured out some stuff in the past 9-10 weeks that has translated over to a lot of different racetracks, and I think it's definitely something that'll translate over to Richmond as well. So that's gives me a good confidence boost that we'll be able to go there with something better than we had the first race. It's a different kind of racetrack. I know a couple of the drivers have kind of hinted that this VHT and this style of adding grip to a racetrack, might be something we could look at for other racetracks. But from my standpoint, the Richmond race, we were all the way at the top, all the way at the bottom. It's a fun racetrack. I just gotta run better there. So we look at these the two coming up. We'll make sure that we can stretch out all we can get to give us a little buffer at Richmond. But I expect to be competitive at Richmond this time around. What we've learned over the past several months has picked up huge at every racetrack we've been able to go to, and I don't expect Richmond to be any different. Thank you.
Chris, congratulations. Thanks again for coming in.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.